You had church back then.
Yes, we had church. Had church one of every nationality.
Okay.
We had one Baptist,
One Baptist,
one
one
Methodist,
Methodist.
one Methodist with Tabernacle.
Okay.
We had um, one Holiness on the same street as we were. It
Wow.
was
The Church of God in Christ.
uh,
You mentioned the Church of God in Christ too.
Mm-hmm.
yes. I went. They all went to church with me, and I come up here. Every I carried all of them to church.
Okay. And they had to go to church. Was that a rule back then? That
If
they
you
had to
wanted
go
to
to.
breathe.
Well, and we can see you are a blessed lady as well, and you've been with God a long time.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Now,
have remembered him since I was about 4 years old,
okay. All right. You remember.
and then he died. The person that would take us to church so much
Okay.
was the janitor of the church.
Mm.
It was Zion Hill Baptist Church.
Zion Hill Baptist Church.
That's in
Uh-huh.
Cleveland.
That's in Cleveland.
And it was a huge building.
Mm-hmm.
It was it used to be long ago before they got it. Before he come up here and got it,
Okay.
and it was a Methodist church.
It was a Methodist church. Now, was it back? That church back in there, was it more togetherness? Would you say, was that a predominantly black church back then as well?
Yes,
And that's in Cleveland as well. So it
yes,
seemed like it was a bunch of, we stuck together a
Right.
lot
A
back
lot.
in the day.
yes,
Not like up here, because up here we have white churches here, we have blacks here, and then we try to come together now as more
yes,
churches. But
yes,
it seemed like more people were involved in church back in the
yes,
day.
yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What about the times? What would you say the times are? You think it's gotten better in some areas and not so much? What would you say about these times as far as the people? Has this gotten more better? Like Dr. McKing, Martin Luther King, he's brought us a way, but
Yes,
not. We still got a lot longer to go.
it was a lot going on. That's why we had so many. First, we had black councilmen, then black uh, chairman of the different boards,
Okay. Okay.
and then uh, from that we just kept growing, kept growing. Every year was more and more, and you'd be surprised, and they got the votes because we were there to vote for.
Yes. Yes.
And but
By us not
now it's not as many,
living up to your age,
and
Okay.
it was it's a
we don't get the rights to vote.
there's a
Okay.
brawl
Abroad. Okay. What do you mean?
that people used to go and vote for black people who were in.
Okay.
Then it got to where they started go voting for white.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Susie, what do you remember? Go ahead, Susie.
Um, I just from the last couple of years before the pandemic.
Okay.
Now, as soon as Trump came into power,
Okay.
shame
All
on
right.
us.
No, go ahead.
It's been a lot more people would that make America great.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, my perspective is their greatness is for us to be back in slavery.
Now you talking about around this area now?
I've
Okay.
seen it's a
Go
difference.
ahead.
It's a
Yes.
difference. I didn't know it was a difference between white and black
Okay.
for a very long time. In Cleveland, there was a white family that lived across the street from us. I called her grandma.
Okay.
Never knew that she was white. I knew her
Wow.
skin complexion was
Didn't even
different
worry
from
about that.
mine.
Yes.
You want to know where I found out there was a difference?
Go ahead.
Girl Scout camp.
Mm.
I went there. Mom was the cook,
Okay.
and we were there. We had to go into units to participate. And this one white girl came over to me and said, "What you niggas doing out here?"
Really? And what year was that? You would say? When was that? Years ago?
19. Let me see. Trying to back it
That's
up.
okay.
1959.
In 1959, you were called that, and did you realize what it was? Go
I
ahead.
didn't even know what it was. I just had, that was the first time hearing it.
Okay.
And I looked at her, and when we reported, then they removed her.
Okay, they did. They did try and do something about
Right,
it.
right.
Okay.
Because they says, no, that is not what we're about.
Wow.
But it was just her home training,
And where was that? But where?
Girl Scout camp.
And where was that? Like, what was that in Cleveland?
Cleveland.
Or was, okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. And you
And
was
I
the cook.
was
Go
the
ahead.
cook.
You was the cook, so you was aware of it.
No, she wasn't aware of the
No.
prejudice thing
Okay.
because they never said anything to her because she was their meal ticket and she was cook.
Wow.
But they didn't know that I was kin to her.
Okay.
So I don't know if the little girl just was taking hint from her mother or parents or
Of
whatever.
course.
But called me that name and I didn't know what it was. I went to the counselor and asked her about it, and that's when they
Okay.
removed her.
And you was in your
teen.
teen years, you think, about that time?
10
Okay.
to 12.
Okay.
Was
About
I,
12.
yeah, I was 12.
And Mother DeScott, you didn't know anything
That
about
it was about.
No.
Because
Okay.
she was in the kitchen cooking.
Okay. And you
And
took care of the food and everything. You,
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And all of the rest of the Caucasian people that were there had no problem with it. They never said anything about us being different or anything.
Okay. So that was just one experience
Just
that you
one little girl.
had. Okay. And that was like
Yep.
in the 50, 40.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
All right.
So, like I said, a couple of years later, I started working, so I wasn't back and forth at school.
Okay.
I mean, at the camp anymore.
Yes. Well, and I say this, because I try and tell us on all my podcasts or all the shows that when I came from Chicago in '85,
Okay.
I went to an all-black school. When I came to Baldwin, my mom brought me up here
Okay.
going into
You
high
went to
school.
Yes.
I've never seen so many black and white
together.
together
Okay.
when I came up to Baldwin.
Okay.
But I think from '85, around that time, I didn't see any racism.
Oh,
Maybe that had weaned out in the '70s.
going out.
It was going out because Martin Luther King, as we
Was
know,
going-
was assassinated in '68.
Right.
And then there was also the president,
Kennedy.
John Kennedy, and those were two right behind each
Powerful.
other. Do you remember those times, Mother
Oh,
DeScott?
yes.
Do you remember what happened at the time when you heard about, and you too, Martin Luther King getting shot? Did you hear, what was it like? I know you're ready, Susie. I can
Well-
see it on the tip of your tongue. I can see it. Go ahead, Mother Scott. What do you remember?
At first, we lived on a street called Scoville Avenue.
Scoville Avenue in Cleveland, of course, still. Okay.
That was the first years, while my mother was living.
go.
We
Okay.
lived in a mixed neighborhood at all times.
Okay.
My mother saw to it that we got into mixed neighborhoods,
She did it on purposely just to get you familiar with all of.
Everybody.
Okay.
and we mixed with them, and we didn't know who rich was, who was rich and who was poor,
Okay.
or anything like that.
Wow. Togetherness. It was like,
Yes,
Okay.
and we lived with them. They lived with us. When I lived Orange Avenue. That was when we had moved away from and getting into the upper class.
Okay. Okay. I got you. I got you. Go right ahead.
And my mother would go to these places and rent these houses, and she'd go there and be cleaning the house, getting it ready for us to move in.
Okay.
And they would the white people around there, they thought she was white. She was working for a white family.
But she was actually doing it was her own.
For home.
Okay.
But she died when I was 10 years old. And I have been on my own
On your
since I was 10 years old.
Since you was 10 years old. 10 or 12 years old, you've been on your own.
Yes.
Working and everything
raising
too?
her,
Yeah.
her
And
sisters and brothers.
Huh?
Raising your sisters and brothers.
Yes.
that is amazing.
And I finished school.
Ah, hallelujah. And you finished school.
I finished school. I have a diploma somewhere
In there.
in the house
That is amazing.
back in the day.
Back in the day. So we're talking about the around the what years would you say back? Because he was 10 years old. So you're talking about what?
What?
20s?
1930. She's born in 20.
She's born in 20, but you're talking about in the 30s then.
Yeah,
In the 30s, yes.
I was born in 1920,
1920.
and I died.
Your mama died.
And she,
My mother died
She was 12.
in 1930.
in the 30s. But
She
we can
was.
get
My
some of
mother
that.
was 30 years old
She
when
was
she
young.
died.
She was a young lady. Was that
Yes.
natural causes?
Huh?
Was that natural causes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. But no, but you finished school, so you went. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You could too, sister. Back then, what did they call it? There was a grammar school and high school. It was called the same name.
Right.
Oh yes.
So
I was
you
saying.
went. So you graduated from grammar and high school.
Yes.
Because my dad did not graduate. I found out my dad in Chicago. He raised a family of 10, and he did not graduate from school because back in the day, once again, he was in the day where there was slavery and everything, and he called them some names. And I'll
Okay.
say he called them Peckerwoods.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember
Yes.
that name, Peckerwoods.
Yes.
Back in the day. But
Yes.
anyway, he said he called them names because they would call him names.
Right.
He didn't finish, but he raised us because he learned how to be a chef. He learned how to do things with his hands, carpentry. He didn't have much education, but the family business was carpentry. He taught all his sons, my older brothers, to work with electricity and all of that. So you had to do what you had to do. But Mother, you raised some children as well, and you raised your siblings, and you were very young when you brought them up. Can you talk about that?
There was 5
Not your kids,
Evelyn,
but your brothers.
Isabel.
Okay, go ahead.
Evelyn, Isabel,
Oscar, Luther.
after
Dorothy.
later. It was
You were first.
Evelyn,
You were first.
Isabel,
Oscar.
The oldest.
Dorothy, Oscar,
Oscar.
Luther, and Alice May.
Alice May.
And you had to take the role of.
And I had to take on the role of mother.
That's amazing.
And that's her mother there.
This is her mother.
Yeah, that's my mother.
This is her mother. I just want to show the camera. They can see.
Can they get that?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'll go a little bit closer. I just want everybody to see that.
Oh, that came out good. I see
It did. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. That is beautiful.
That
That
is
is
her
her
mother.
mother. She looks just like you.
Yes, and she's named
After her.
after her
You're
I'm
named after
Susie.
her.
This
And
is-
you're the second of her children.
Yes.
Okay.
because the first child I had was a boy.
So they
Okay.
couldn't name a Susie.
The second one was a girl, and I named her Susie. All the others were married
Before.
in the family, but me.
Really?
I
married all
stayed
her
there and
sisters and
kept up with them.
You,
And when I got married, I said, "No, nobody named the child Susie."
yeah, you
I
said,
said, "But I'm gonna name, if I have any children,
Yes.
the first thing I'm gonna do is name." And I married